Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to our show. We have gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the multiverse, two of the nerdiest geeks to be found. We proudly present the professor and her geeky girlness herself, Ace. And now it's time. GeekyKOOL presents Professor and Ace.
Hey, everybody.
I love our intro.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I had fun creating that. So this is episode 22 of GeekyKOOL presents Ace, Professor and Ace. I always point the wrong direction. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's it. That's it. So
Cameras are backwards.
today the cameras are backwards. Yeah, that's just a crazy thing. So today we want to talk a little bit about just some of those things that, in a ideal setting would be made into either a movie or made into a series or made into something beyond where it's at now. And so I wrote out this massive list, and Ace has a list also. We won't.
Long, but I have some in my head that I'm sure will pop out because
well, as they do.
Before. I've just like it's one of those things that it's one of those conversations you have while you're watching a TV show and you see an actor and you like pause the TV show, or maybe it's just me and Shboo, but we pause the TV show and I'll be like, you know who he would play? And he's like, yeah, he would play this person, and then we like cast a whole movie that doesn't exist but should exist.
Right.
But the problem is we don't record our conversations. That's the part of the reason he did that 24-hour stream last weekend, was because those are our favorite conversations, and we don't record them, and then we can't remember them.
It's time to grab the recorder right next to you. Get that phone app and just pull, record. So, did you guys survive the 24 hours?
We did. Right afterwards, I ate a sandwich, and then I went and took a nap. And when I woke up, I had no voice for 12 hours. I went to work, and I was like this. And they're like, what's wrong? And I was like, talk too much. But it's back now, as you can see. And it was a good, I think it was a success. We had such amazing guests. You were included in that. And we talked about pretty much everything that you could think of talking about, from cosplay to porn titles to like conspiracy theories and everything in between. And
including peeing.
Yeah, I was at work when that was going on. Because it was Friday at noon to Saturday at noon, and I worked Friday from 9 a.m. to 6:30, so I didn't get home until I got off a little early, but I didn't get home until 6. And when I got home, I jumped right on and everything. But so for like 6 hours, it was Shboo, Mandy Collins was on there with him. Dee was on there with him, and then Gary and Keith, and then Gary stuck around until after I got home. And yeah, Gary and him had some really interesting conversations.
Yeah, it's always going to be with Gary. So and Gary's great. Gary's a great guy. I love talking to Gary. Gary's a lot of fun. In fact, I popped on there for a few minutes, and I also was commenting while I was working, because I was watching it on another screen and going, oh, say this, and so. But yeah, it was entertaining. So for those that did not catch it, Scallywags Productions, either go to Facebook and look for them, or of course YouTube, and we'll put their stuff up here. Actually, we can throw it up right now, and check out their 24-hour stream. Now it's been broke up a little bit because Facebook kept dropping it after a little bit of time. So what was there, 3 streams?
Yes. So the first stream lasted until like 1:30, and somehow, for some reason, StreamYard, it ended the stream, and we couldn't figure out why. So he got right back on there within like a couple minutes, and then we went 8.5 hours, and we were watching a YouTube video that we got permission from the person who was who made the video and the star, but YouTube or Facebook didn't realize that we did, and I think they kicked us off for that, like a copyright thing, at like 8 hours, and then we got right back on, and at that point we had 7 guests on the show, and we got right back on, and then we were on for almost 9 hours, and Facebook stopped our live stream, and I think it was because it was 9 hours. Like, I don't think they expect people to go that long. But we had taken a nap. There are about 3.5 hours on there where you see the scallywag backdrop, and it just says we will be back at a certain time, because we both were so exhausted at this point that we needed to take a nap. And it didn't help that right beforehand we decided to watch a movie and do commentary on the movie. Well, kind of like mystery science theater kind of style, where you don't see we didn't see the show because we didn't want to do copyright law, but we watched a really bad show, and us and a friend of Shaggy, were watching it. He was watching it at his house, and we were watching it here, and we were talking about it, and sitting in the dark room with just the TV on, we got a little sleepy. So
that doesn't.
It does. But other than that, and those 3 little like couple minute breaks, we were live from my house for 24 hours straight.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
It was.
He had so much fun. We're going to do it again.
Next week.
No. It'll take me a lot longer to do that. No.
I know he called it annual, so.
He is. It's going to be an annual thing. He might do 12-hour streams between now and the annual. But yeah, it's going to be an annual thing for sure, at the least. So, but yeah, go watch it, because we had some great guests. We had writers, we had cosplayers, we had professional actors and cosplayers, we had geeky people, we had Keith and Gary from pop culture. Professor was on. Just basically any of my nerdy friends or Shpoo's nerdy friends that we just like invited everyone who wanted to join, and even people who weren't on my program, because I actually made a program of like our guests. Even people who weren't on our program were watching, and they commented, and they were like, I would love to join. And so we sent them links, and they joined the conversation as well. So
that's awesome.
How it was. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so. It was fun from what I got to watch, and from from being on the show. It was a great time. So I'm so glad he was able to get that done. You guys did a great job with it. It was very entertaining. So anyway, so but let's talk about our show. So do you want to go with one of yours first, or should I go with one of mine first?
Okay, so I'll go with one of mine. And this one it's not a concept that's never been done. It is actually it's a sequel that I would love to see. And that is The Addams Family. Yeah. But with Christina Ricci as the matriarch and Angelica Houston as the grandma. So when Wednesday is married, she can be married to that little geeky boy that she met at the camp, which I think would be hilarious because he's not like in that circle of Addams Family. He's a normal person. Right. And I think it would be great if she had 2 boys instead of a boy and a girl, and she was trying to relate to her children. But, you know, her husband loved her the way Gomez loves Morticia. And then, of course, you'd have Pugsley being, you know, the new Uncle Fester kind of character. And I just think it would be amazing. Plus, the artwork that people have floated around with Christina Ricci in the dress just makes me want to watch it. No, I've seen that. Yeah. It's amazing. And Wednesday Addams is one of my favorite characters of all time. I have cosplayed as her several times. I have Marie. Hold on. I'll get Marie. I have Marie. She hangs in my hallway. This is my Marie doll. Nice. Marie Antoinette. She's part of my cosplay. And so I would love to see a sequel made of that. Right. I'm not sure. Like, I think I actually don't even care who they get to play her husband, as long as he's a little nerdy. And I do think it would be interesting if he was, like not an Adams or not in that weird circle of people that other Adamses marry, that sort of thing.
Right.
Like he's a normal guy who just happens to be in love with Wednesday and puts up with the whole family, including Morticia now is the grandmother character. And I just think that would be super fun. And I would totally watch that movie.
As a guy, marrying into a family with Morticia as my mother-in-law, yikes. I'd be like, wow.
Like, first of all, he would have to take her name. Like, he's going to become Adam.
Right.
He's not taking his name. It's all about the feminist with Wednesday. But no, I just think it would be unique. And I do like the idea, like, if I was going to write it, it would be, she would have children, but it would be 2 boys. And I think that they would be more like their father than Adams's. So it would kind of be like Marilyn from the Monsters to where they're the normal ones, and they're trying to fit in, and she's trying to help them, because the thing about the Addams family is they're creepy, and all kinds of craziness and everything, but the core is about family,
right?
And they would do anything for each other. And if you have somebody who's more normal in the family, they're not going to ostracize them. They're just going to accept them and bring them in and try to make them kooky and crazy.
Right.
So I think that would be interesting.
That is a really interesting idea. I like that a lot. Yeah.
So what's one of yours?
Well, man, I got this big list. Okay. So let me go with something fairly easy for me to say. I would like to see a new version, well, a little more dark than the original, and definitely much better than the stupid movie adaptation of Land of the Lost.
The movie.
Yeah. Well, it intentionally was what it was. It was.
But don't do that to a classic. That is a classic story. That is a classic novel. That is an amazing story to tell. Don't turn it into what you turned it into.
No, I agree with you. What I love about Land of the Lost, well, one, it came on. I think it came on in '73 was the first season, and so I was like 3 when it came out, and there were dinosaurs. I was all about it.
Right.
So, because I'm a little older there, not to give away my age, so whatever. But no. So I loved the series, but when I've gone back and rewatched it, the first 2 seasons are amazing because it really world builds. It builds into this crazy world of a closed universe. At one point, the dad climbs up a mountain and looks, and you can see the back of his head because it's a closed universe. Right. It's so small that he's looking, and it bends it back around to see his own head, back of his head, which is awesome. And then, of course, you got dinosaurs and Sleestack and those pylons. I love the pylons. Now, this, I would say we need to make it into a series. I like how Netflix took Lost in Space and really kind of made those characters human, but also kind of took it to a different level. I love the Lost in Space. Now, unfortunately, Netflix is under their whole 3 seasons and done thing, so we only get 1 more season of it.
I mean, but they have bent that rule, but very few times.
Well, and they've already declared last season. This will be the last season.
Yeah.
So they've already said that. Of course, if it blows things away, maybe they change that. So because of that, I would not want this on Netflix, but I would want it someplace else where it could be a little darker. Hulu, Amazon.
Yep, Amazon Prime. I think it would be amazing on Amazon Prime. What they did with like The Boys, or even The Tick. I would love. This is something that's been done, but bring it back, please.
Yes.
But what they did with that, like I was so scared because I love The Tick, but they took those characters and they modernized them, but without like taking away their who they were. And and the boys does such a great job with like that superhero but darkness. I think that you could totally do something with The Land of the Lost on Amazon and make it a little darker, a little
right. Still
depth.
not just where it becomes just a horror thing or something like that, but make it really about the core of the dad and the kids, and work on that relationship. But you've got dinosaurs roaming around.
Yes.
You have these lizard people coming to get you in the middle of the night because they're, I mean, and you got this cool world of these weird pylons that change the weather and do all the stuff. And so you could do some really kind of freaky, weird stuff with it, but still have it be where you could let, kids watch it, but know that they're going to be a little scared, everything else, but it's still good. Like, Lost in Space. My son loved Lost in Space the first 2 seasons. The first season, he was just engrossed in it completely. Yeah. And it just kind of, I do love that.
We were watching it last night. I got home from work, and I came home, and Lex was watching The Iron Giant for the very first time.
Yeah.
And she's 9, and she has the attention span of a 9-year-old who watches TikTok all the time. So very short. But she was like this, watching this movie. And so anytime we can get our kids to have the attention span and really get involved in either reading or watching something that's wholesome like that, and they love it, it's amazing. So yeah.
Did she cry?
She did not cry, but we had told her that it was going to be very, very sad. And so every time a sad part came on, she was like, "Is this the sad part? Is this the sad part?" And we were like, "No, you'll know when the sad part comes on." And then it gets to the end, and he's flying up, and she's like, "This is the sad part, isn't it?" And we're like, "Yeah, this is."
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, so I think The Land of the Lost could be an amazing family movie for Amazon Prime, or series for Amazon Prime. And because they do a lot over there that is more toward adults.
Right.
And this could kind of help bridge that, but also give that like sci-fi. And kids love dinosaurs. You said you were 4 and you watched the dinosaur. Dakota.
Right.
My son, he said dinosaur before he said mommy. Oh no, it was a thing.
That's sad. But dinosaurs are cool.
He said not only dinosaur, but he could name about 12 types of dinosaurs. He said mommy. Like he would do it on purpose.
I can see that with.
He would look at me and I'd be saying mommy, and he was like 2.5, and he would like, nope. And I would be like, say dinosaur. Dinosaur. What kind of dinosaurs, Dakota? And he would be like, T-Rex, Ankylosaurus, he said before he said mommy. That just tells you what kind of kid I raised.
Do you remember the Jim Henson show called Dinosaurs?
Yes.
You have Mama and not the Mama. Yep. That's kind of what it sounds like, but in reverse there. Not the dinosaur.
Not the dinosaur. You're not a dinosaur, Mommy. You're not important.
But no, I think that would be a really awesome thing. They tried to remake the series in the 90s, and it wasn't very good. And then they tried that movie, and
the movie wasn't what it should have been.
No,
it was. The movie to me was like if somebody never read the book, and then watched the original series and then wrote fan fiction about it.
Really bad.
You know what I mean?
Humor-focused fan fiction, not even good fan fiction.
No, just like let's spoof this as much as possible.
Right. And that is what they went for. And I watched it. I was like,
it was fine.
Call it something else.
Well, if you think about it, and I say this all the time, movies they go through these phases of like all serious artsy movies and all comedies, and you can watch through the decades, because I'm a huge movie buff. I watch everything from silent film up to modern movies. They go through, like, we have film noir, and we have these decades of specific styles of movies.
I like film noir, by the way.
Yeah. And then the 90s were a lot about these really cliche comedies that were not written well. They weren't.
No, they weren't.
People loved them, and they're classics now because people love them so much. But they're not, like, they're never going to be like something you watch and you go, oh my gosh, the writing in that is just spectacular.
Right.
It was about cheap laughs, and
right.
and it fell in that time frame that made it that. It's what was popular then. I think if they redid it now, we're in a phase with movies that it's more about like deep emotional connections. And even horror movies have these deep emotional threads that go through them now.
Right.
And it's not always just slasher. We had slasher movies. Like the 80s were all about the slasher movies. Like that's what drove horror movies in the 80s. Not that all movies were like that, but it was about, a lot of it was about like how much blood and how much gore and that sort of thing. And so now we're at a place where art films are so popular that I think that something like that could work. And a lot of the things that are on my list, and I know some of the things that are on your list, this would be a good time for them to happen.
I agree. I agree. Yes. Well, and also the popularity of streaming services and pulling in material and doing a good job with something, not just putting out a movie somewhat based on, but actually diving in. And of course, they never are perfect, but they get a lot of it right. Where you're going, okay. Which reminds me, by the way, remember my favorite horror movie is Rebecca, which I told you it's hard to find.
I love Rebecca. The book is amazing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Are you talking? Because they've done 2 Rebecca movies. Are you talking about the one with Olivia de Havilland?
I'm talking about the original from 1940.
Yeah, Olivia.
Yeah.
Played, and she played Melanie in Gone with the Wind.
Yes.
Yes. That movie, that book, it's a psychological.
It is.
It's not a thriller, like you are like, oh my gosh, and it's not like a slasher horror, but it is very much a psychological movie.
It is
that can scare.
Yeah, that was my first horror movie. But what I was going to say is Netflix is making a new version of it coming out October, November. So I was excited when I saw that because I'm like, this is, the original movie is very hard to find. It's not included in anything of when you get those combination groups. You've got Psycho, you've got The Birds, and all this stuff from Hitchcock, but they never include that. And that's my favorite movie of Hitchcock's. And anyway, but I'm excited to see what they do with it. So
yeah, no, I love that movie. I love old movies. Like, we could have made this. I had a list of old movies, but I also have like a little bit of a list of like more nostalgic, like what people who are watching will probably know. So I'm going to go with that list more. But I would love to do an old movie, like ones that, they've remade a lot of old movies and people don't realize they've remade a lot of old movies. The Shop Around the Corner was remade into You Got Mail. Right. The Shop Around the Corner is amazing with Jimmy Stewart, and it's just this. It's when they actually had pen pals, when you had to write them. Right. Which you had to modernize it and stuff like that. But no, they've remade a lot of movies, and people don't realize they're remakes. Right.
No, I'm with you. We do need to do an old movie thing sometime. Talk about our favorite old movies because
we could do decades. We could do our
oh
favorite
yeah,
movies from the 20s to the 30s. Our favorite
Yep.
movies from 40s to the 50s. That
Yep.
sort of thing.
Yep.
I would be down for that.
Okay, next week.
Okay, we'll pick a decade.
We'll pick a decade. We'll go next because I love some old movies too. So people were like, you're watching this? I'm like, yeah, I would rent stuff from the library because they would have it on VHS or whatever. I'm like, I've got to watch this.
Do you know I have friends who have never watched a black and white movie?
Really?
Except
they're missing out.
Except Schindler's List. But and they're like, oh, it's so artsy and that's so amazing and stuff. And it's a great movie. Don't get me wrong.
It is.
With the little
great
girl,
movie.
little red dress, red coat. That's an amazing movie. But I feel like they're like, no, I don't watch old movies like that. They're so boring. And I'm like, you have no idea.
You don't.
But my next one is, okay, this one has never been made into a movie. And it's a new concept or newer concept in comics. And it is Harley and Ivy as a couple. I want to see a movie where Harley Quinn is in a healthy relationship. She doesn't get that very often. And I have it like Margot Robbie as Harley is great. I would leave her there. I have no problem with that. I think she plays the role really well, even though I haven't liked all the movies.
Right.
I think that she plays Harley Quinn really well.
Right. Right.
And then I've seen people say like Jessica Chastain as Poison Ivy. I actually have a different casting.
Uma Thurman?
Nope. Bella Thorne.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She's a redhead. She's young. She's feisty. She can play this like a little bit like tough girl kind of thing. And I think I would love to see her as Poison Ivy in anything. If somebody's casting a Poison Ivy, look at Bella Thorne. I think she would look amazing in the outfit, and I think she could pull it off. And she is an actual redhead. You don't have to wig her up.
Right, right.
Which is important. And I just think it would be great to watch. Now, that is a comic book movie that I feel they should make. And I think it should be a movie. I don't think it should be a series just because I think it would get stale if they tried to stretch it out that long. I think it like a 2-hour movie would be great. And it could be very artsy. One, it's a lesbian couple. So it's going to break some barriers and it's going to be things. I mean, I know people who are not happy with that coupling anyway. But I think it could be very interesting. And if the right director and the right writer got a hold of it, I think it could be a great story. So
the Harley Quinn cartoon plays off on that some.
Yeah.
But it takes it a while to get there. I don't know. Maybe Emma Stone is. The
only problem I have with Emma Stone is she plays too quirky.
She can, yeah.
But
I've seen her play with chops though, where you can be a little quirky, but then you're like, but I'm going to kill you.
Right, but she always has that little quirky girl next door look. And I think Bella Thorne, first of all, her name, Bella Thorne, Beautiful Thorne.
That's true, yeah.
Poison Ivy, it's a perfect name. But I think Bella Thorne brings this, she's not the girl next door. She doesn't look like the girl next door, even though she's cute and everything. And I remember her from the Disney show she played on with Zendaya. I can't remember the name. It was Rocky and something. But I remember watching her there and growing up. So God of War needs to be made into a movie, Grizzly says. I agree with that. I love that idea.
That's a great game. It was some really cool story stuff going on. So yeah, that would make an amazing movie. I agree.
But yeah, Bella Thorne I think would be my
that's a good pick. No, I don't disagree with that. I was just thinking when I had thought about Poison Ivy previously, I thought that, and I joked about Uma Thurman because of Batman and Robin that she played.
The problem with Uma Thurman, well, first of all, Uma Thurman couldn't play opposite of Margot Robbie right now. Like her age would show. I know that sounds bad. She looks beautiful. She's still a beautiful woman, but her age would show.
So it's not okay for a female couple to have one older and one younger?
No, they're supposed to. Yeah, funny. Don't put that dog. No, I'm saying that they're supposed to be contemporary. In their love story, they're supposed to be closer to contemporary age.
Sure,
and so
right.
If you did that, and it's not that Uma couldn't do it. I just think that it would not play off as modern.
Right. Well, and I was joking about Uma just because of Batman and Robin. So
I know. Plus,
that's the only reason I brought her up was
she had a bad wig.
What?
Pick a redhead. There's so many beautiful redheads in Hollywood.
Agreed. You know I'm in favor of that.
So are all nerdy guys.
Yeah.
All nerdy guys love redheads. I have to tell you why.
Yeah, well, what do you get? I mean, so, but no, that would be an interesting movie. I agree. You could definitely. Well, the interesting thing with playing Harley is then you can also wonder how much of this is really in her minor psychosis.
Exactly. You could play it off. It could go dark. It could go funny. It could go. They could do a Harley Quinn and Ivy romantic comedy, and it would work. And that's the thing. It could be so many different things if you gave it to the right producer, director, and writer, and the right studio. It could be really good. So, I mean, it's not going to happen. We've discussed this stuff. It's not going to happen, but.
Well, you don't know because Marvel. I mean, nobody thought Guardians of the Galaxy would be made, and
that's true.
So,
that's true.
And now DC is not as willing to take chances, but they've not had as much success. So
I agree with Grizzly on that Batman and Robin fell flat on so many points. I am a Robin fan. I'm not a Batman fan. Anybody who's watched this show knows that I am not a I don't dislike him. He's not my favorite. But I love Robins. I love all the Robins.
I don't like Damon. Damon could go away.
No, you know what? For what he was, for what he needed to bring, it was not where people wanted it to go, but I feel like his story was interesting enough that he's still up there with me. He's my least favorite Robin, but
I was gonna say, give me Jason Todd any day as Robin over Damian.
Yes. Well,
and Jason Todd got killed because the fans hated him so much.
I know, but they shouldn't have. They shouldn't have.
Well, why did the writers allow that? I mean, that's the crazy thing. Anyway, we'll move on. So no, I agree. Batman and Robin did fall flat on a lot of things. I found the best part of Batman and Robin is being Arnold Schwarzenegger playing Mr. Freeze and just his crazy one-liners. At least I found that to be entertaining. Because the rest of it, I went, what are we doing here? This doesn't make any sense.
You know what? The best part of Batman and Robin, to me, the costumes were pretty good. And Chris O'Donnell in his spandex was like awesome. I'm not even lying. And,
the bat nipples, really?
He was so cute. He was so cute. Look at you. You're like, hey, I'm a geeky girl, and I like a Robin.
Well, see, no, that's okay. That's not anything wrong with that.
Yeah, you're judging me. So
I'm not judging. I mean, I like Mr. Freeze in the silly thing. I loved him singing Cold Miser in the freezer, having his people do that. I just thought that was hysterical. But I did.
See, now I'm judging you.
Yeah, well, I know. But I'm just saying, if I have to sit through a movie that is that bad, at least give me some one-liners to entertain me. So, Grizzly had this to say.
Fat nibbles!
So, anyway. So let's go on to the next one here because we're not going to get anywhere close to these lists, and I knew that. Okay. So I want to go with something that was a cartoon in the 80s that I thought was amazing. And I can see it being a live action movie, or I could even see them adapting it to a series because they did a lot of world building with it, and it was just incredible. It is Thundar the Barbarian.
Okay, I don't hate this. I don't hate this at all.
So the whole idea, for those that don't know, Thundar the Barbarian, it took a little bit of Star Wars and a little bit of Conan and a little bit of this and that. It
basically took everything that was popular at the time and like mashed it up into one cartoon.
But it was really cool. So the idea that what I liked about it was that the idea is that society, because of a runaway planet or comet or whatever, goes by and basically destroys the moon and sucks away a good portion of the atmosphere of Earth, that things, as we know it, all die, and there's an apocalypse. But people survive, people mutate, people do all sorts of stuff, and from that you now have Thundar the Barbarian, who's a barbarian fighter for what's right, and he's got a sun sword, which is kind of like a lightsaber. But it's not really about that so much, because it's really more of his bravado and I'm the barbarian and then you have
it's like
it was very Conan. Yeah, I love that. And it's in this post-apocalyptic world, but you also have magic. You have people using technology. They figured a way to revamp some of the technology. And it's just an interesting concept. And you could, like, you see points of where they go to New York City post-apocalypse, and you see the Statue of Liberty, but all this other stuff's destroyed. It's just kind of an interesting world building. And I love that.
You would like it to be live action, though.
Live action of some sort.
Yeah, because the only problem I have with them remaking old cartoons is how they remake them. Like Thundercats looks like weird, and She-Ra.
I agree. I've got friends that love the new She-Ra, but you got to get past the animation style.
The animation style, and the thing is like, we talked about this on, I don't remember who it was I was talking to. It was either Morgan or Jay on the 24-hour stream, was the fact that, like, My Little Ponies, and we have the Equestrian Girls, and you have, the Care Bears are now like these little claymation things, and they're not claymation, though. It's like 3D animation. Which is fine for the new generation because they don't understand where it came from. But for me, it's just weird watching it.
I'm with you.
Get past that. So when they did Thundercats and they did She-Ra, and I love She-Ra. Don't get me wrong. Like, do you remember the live action She-Ra?
I don't remember a live action She-Ra. No.
It was like a cartoon. Short film. It wasn't even a whole like movie. It was just like a short film, and we watched it I watched it in high school. I don't even know who made it, and it might have just been like one of my high school teachers and their friends, because it was that bad.
Right.
But it was like a short little it was terrible.
Well, so was the Masters of the Universe live action that was in theaters. Who in the world brings it to Earth? Come on.
Who brings it to Earth in modern times and has Courtney Cox there? I mean, seriously, that's not what you do.
That didn't work.
He-Man needs to be on his own, in his own universe.
Eternia.
He needs to be there. He needs to. Skeletor and Evelyn and all of them need to be there. Orko.
Right.
I love Orko. By the way, I'm looking for like a Funko Pop Orko.
That would be cool.
They made one a few years ago, but I haven't found one yet. So, but no, I know they talked about redoing He-Man. I wrote an article for GeekyKOOL before COVID happened last year and stuff. I don't know where that is because of all of this. We don't know where anything is right now. But I would love for them to remake that. But actually set it in He-Man universe and not bring it to Earth. It's like Beastmaster.
Right.
Beastmaster I loved. It was cheesy as all get out, and it was very Conan the Barbarian, but weirdly less, but with animals. But
Right.
part 2, when they bring him to Earth, and it was not good.
No, I'm with you completely. So Grizzly, yeah, they are actually talking. So the He-Man movie is supposed to be, there's a live action one coming, but there's also supposed to be a cartoon that's going to actually pick up where He-Man left off, because apparently it left it on a cliffhanger before they canceled it. So, and I do remember that, but they're going to actually continue that story with. The animation's actually going to stay fairly close. Now they're making another version of it to kind of start over, but it's going to have a different animation style. But so there are some things in the works with that. But Thundar, because Thundar had Ukla, who was kind of like a Wookiee.
Yes.
And
gosh.
so and then you had the princess, who's a sorceress, who was amazing. They underused her. She needs to kick butt more. I mean, I'd love to see that in a live action, because she'd be like, okay, guys, and just do things. So.
Right. Well, we always talk about these characters who are minor characters in their stories who need to be their own stories.
Right. And she was
stuff, and she's one of them.
She's a major character in the cartoon. I mean, she's not the name on the cartoon, but she saves Thundar's butt more often than he saves hers.
Know more about her through her.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Some sort of backstory, flashback.
Yes.
The original He-Man series is what they're going to continue with, not the remake. Even though they're going to make another remake, but the original one, they're going to do a season, I think, to wrap up where the cliffhanger held on there. So, but that's in the works. I've not heard anything about that recently. But so anyway, that was mine. Was Thundar. What else do you got for me, Ace?
So I have talked about this. Everyone who knows, I am a horror fan, but I'm a classic movie monster horror fan.
Right.
I love Frankenstein, Swamp Thing, all of them. Like, I love those movies.
I do too.
I think it would be amazing. I know people were really excited when The Mummy came out with Cruise. We all know how I feel about Tom Cruise. But
hey, Top Gun's cool.
I was amped up on the idea that they were going to have a whole, like, the whole monster universe.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to have movies based on the monster universe. And
Tom Cruise killed it.
One. He did. He totally did.
Just like how Clooney killed the Batman series.
It's a thing. It's a thing. If you see that movie, you'll see why. It's not horrible. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it's so far from where it should have been.
Right.
But I want to see Blumhouse pick up the classic monsters, the universe monsters, the universal monsters, and run with it and make it more of an art house feel with those classic monsters. I would love for them to be shot in black and white with if you had to, like, very limited color or faded color or like strobe effects and like just classic effects, but modernized, like using the technology we have now,
right?
But without sorry, I'm getting like text, but without taking the integrity of these classic monsters away. And that, to me, you can do any of them. Like one of my favorites is Swamp Thing. I love that story. I love that monster. I love Frankenstein. I love Dracula.
So do you mean Swamp Thing from the comic books, or are you talking? You're talking the creature from the Black Lagoon?
Creature.
Yes.
Well, yes. Well, there was a movie made in the 50s called Swamp Thing. It was not based on the comics. It was based on the creature from the Black Lagoon, but they called him the Swamp Creature.
Okay.
And so that was the first swamp creature movie I'd ever watched.
Oh, okay.
I loved
that makes sense. I knew they made an '80s Swamp Thing that was based off the DC comics,
the
but
DC comic. Yeah,
yeah,
they
yeah.
made that one. It was not. That movie was terrible. And I love that comic too. Don't get me wrong. That comic has some of the best love and heartfelt moments of any comic. But no, I just want those universal monsters.
Right. I'm with you because and I've told people this. I watch Spenguli every Saturday night if I can. And Spenguli is basically a classic monster or classic horror thing that they do in this presentation, and it's from WGN originally played it. It basically just showing old monster and horror movies.
Yeah.
I watch that every week because I love watching the old monster movies. Godzilla, King Kong, you've got the Mummy, and you've got Dracula, and all the variations there of Dracula.
When I was growing up, I wanted to be Elvira. I
Yeah.
wanted to be Sandra Peterson and get to dress up and just talk about like these crazy horror movies. I met her a couple times. She's very, very sweet. She messaged me a couple times. I don't think she remembers me now because it's been years, but she's just an amazing person. But I wanted to be her because I love those kind of horror movies. And it's sad because I don't think they're being made. And I think there's an audience for them. And as
I agree.
As I said earlier, that art house film style, Dakota and I had this whole conversation. I had recorded it, by the way. A whole conversation. It was like 4 hours long about what makes an art house film and why they're so popular. And and it is right now would be the time for like someone like Blumhouse, because Blumhouse does all of these art house style horror films. But to pick up on those universal monsters and just run with them if they're able to. Like, I would just be wonderful timing for it. So.
No, I agree. Grizzly also says this, which is true. Yeah, they are setting it up. We've got Godzilla versus King Kong coming up next year. I know. It's very exciting.
It was one of the ones that I was so disappointed that was not going to come out this year.
Me too, because
my favorite is Mothra. I love Mothra. Just like when she was so beautiful in Godzilla, the King of the Monsters, so beautiful. I'm a huge Godzilla fan. It's hit or miss with King Kong with me. I love King Kong, but some of the movies have been hit or miss. And that's going back to the very first movies with them. But I love this idea of them bringing that universe and the monsters. And I loved, like, they had Rodan and they had all of them. I loved that so much. It made me very happy.
It did me too. I've back in the 80s, I just started Godzilla movies and started watching them again, watching old movies and just seeing how, and you're like, okay, the graphics on this, everything else, that's kind of cheesy, but man, this is fun.
It's so fun.
The little fairies with Mothra, those are awesome.
I know they had the twins.
Yeah. Yep.
And everything, and I they had a connection, and I'm looking forward. I know there was at the end of Godzilla King of the Monsters, I know Mothra, if you haven't seen it, spoiler, if you haven't seen it, go see it, or you should rent it, or whatever you have to do, because it is amazing. But Mothra sacrifices her life, but then on all the newspapers that come up at the end, that's what you got to stay for. You got to stay for all the newspaper clippings, and it says that there's a cocoon found, so there's going to be because they don't they die, but they are also they're gods of this earth. They're like these gods of our protector of our earth, and they're bringing our earth back to life. If you watch all those little newspaper clippings, like where they've been, there's a garden in the Sahara Desert now, and like all of this, like that kind of thing. So they're bringing the earth back to life.
Right.
It's just going to be like, are they bringing it back to life for us or for them? That's where that's gonna go, I think.
May depend on the monster too.
It does.
Yeah, and just like, because they compared him in that movie to the Titans, the forerunners to the gods, so who are more elemental and everything else. But you have ones that are very much looking out for everybody, and then you got the ones who just want to kind of have their own place and destroy everything else. So yeah. All right, very good, very good. That's a. I'm with you. The monster movies, I think, would be really good thing to bring back in sort of an artsy form. Would be great. I would still watch that.
Don't try to make them like blockbuster type of like movie. Make them an artsy film based on these classic stories, and I think you're gonna have such a wide audience that it's just gonna blow you out of the water. It's going to blow your mind because it's just like that's what people want.
Right. So when you go back and watch, especially, not always the sequels thereafter, but the original monster movies, The Mummy. You go watch Frankenstein. You go watch Dracula, and in Creature from the Black Lagoon, same thing. They have a really interesting story with characters that you find fascinating, and they give you a really good world building when they do it. You can do those things. I mean, just take the script from the original ones and do that if you needed to, because they're well done. New graphics would be great, but those are well done stories. So, all right. So let me give you one that almost happened, but I think needs to happen still.
Okay.
And that would be Daughters of the Dragon, which is based off the Marvel comic books with Colleen Wing and Misty Knight. They were together in Iron Fist and also in Defenders. Yes. Two really cool characters. Take those actresses, bring them back. I mean, we're already talking about bringing Daredevil back. Bring them back also. Do the whole thing of Daughters of the Dragon, make them kind of heroes for hire, do that whole private detective thing. I mean, we already know that Misty's quit the police department, which is comic book accurate, and Colleen is pretty much a ninja. Now, according to the comic books, Colleen's supposed to be a redhead, but
they made her. It's a redhead thing. I actually like the actress they picked to play her.
Me too.
In Iron Fist and Luke Cage and Jessica Jones and that whole thing that was on Netflix, and Daredevil and all of them. When they had those on there, I liked her for it. I think that she brought the heart that Colleen needs.
Yeah, I agree.
She was emotionally connected to everyone in the way that I think Colleen should have been.
Right.
I don't hate that idea, and I think that since Luke Cage and Punisher and Jessica Jones and all of those have kind of like it's a Netflix thing. I think that they could still financially. I think it would be a smart move for them. I think that there's still enough comic book fans that want to see more.
Yeah.
I mean, I had friends who literally made this like a weekly thing where they would all get together and watch Jessica Jones, Luke Cage. Like they would be on it, and then they would watch all of the episodes from that week of Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones. And I think that could work well. I actually think that, it's Shmoo and I talk about like when they turn comic book characters and they change them to make them more politically correct, or they throw feminist movement or all of that into a scene or something, and it's not necessarily needed. And I understand as a woman why they're doing it, but at the same time, comic book fan, I'm like, it's not needed. We have badass women in comics. You don't need to like change somebody or throw.
And these are two of them.
And these are two of them, and they could be amazing. Misty, I love Misty from Iron this.
I did too. I thought they played those roles perfectly. I liked it better than the main characters sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I did. I enjoyed Luke Cage. You kind of have to know what you're getting with Luke Cage. So I enjoyed Luke Cage a lot. The first Iron Fist season was kind of hit and miss, and you can tell they rushed it into production, and special effects weren't that great.
Special effects were terrible the first season.
Yeah. Well,
they got a little bit better after.
Yeah. Yeah, the second season was a lot better. I found the story in second season really compelling and kind of left you on a cliffhanger. So I wouldn't mind to see them continue some of that with Disney Plus. I can see them doing that, but this needs to be made on Disney Plus. They need, because you got your comic book Marvel comic characters right there. Add them in, make them a core part of what's going on, because these girls rock. They're awesome, and they
should.
Yeah.
But Disney has a lot on their plate right now, so
they do, but here's more for it, because people are banging at the door to get what's going to be happening Marvel-wise on Disney. Hawkeye's coming, Scarlet Witch and Vision is coming. Which
I'm so excited about. I love.
Yeah, I know that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So you've got Falcon and Winter Soldier. So all these things are coming. Just add this to the list. I mean, it doesn't. She-Hulk's coming, so you don't have to make it something that right this second. But use these actresses, continue this story, make it really cool, and then you can kind of link all that together, because they're already talking about they're going to bring Daredevil back. So
right. Do you think? I mean, is there legal things, like does Netflix still own the rights to these characters for television?
They had to be done. They could be made in something else for like 2 years after their last season premiered.
Okay.
So they now have rights taken.
Yeah, I always know there's that waiting period in contracts.
There is.
That like you can't do anything with this. So yeah, I was just wondering about that. If that's one of the reasons or something like that. I know that's why they're bringing Daredevil, because it was the first one to be canceled. Right. So I figure like a lot of them are going to get moved over. I don't think Jessica Jones will, or Luke Cage, just because they are. I feel like they're not necessarily Disney Plus. Right. Like they were better on Netflix.
You could see them show up on Hulu, since Hulu is now owned majority-wise by Disney. They've said that they may put some more of the ones that are going to be more intense like that over on Hulu. So kind of have these aren't for kids, so let's move them over here.
Yeah,
but
which makes sense.
But I think these girls could definitely do that. I mean, on Disney Plus, definitely Hulu. Well, you could go that way, but
if you made it to where they were like, private investigating, the stuff like that, you could downplay the violence a little bit, because they don't have as much of the anger issues as like Jessica Jones or Luke Cage characters. You know what I mean? So especially Jessica Jones, like no one has anger issues. Like,
well, if you were manipulated by the Purple Man, you might be.
No. She has every right to have her anger issues, but that's one of the reasons her anger issues and her anger issues toward men and sexuality and stuff. That's one of the reasons she should not be on Disney Plus.
No, I agreed.
But,
agreed. And by the way, David Tennant, oh my gosh, in that role, I just am like, dude, I love you as the Doctor, but such a good villain. Oh my gosh.
He played in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
As oh my gosh, Crouch's son. I can't think of his first name. But basically the one who held Mad-Eye Moody in the thing. David Tennant is one of those actors that I can see playing so many roles, and people are like, and they only remember him from the Doctor, but he has such a wide range of emotions, and he plays a bad guy like nobody's business. Like he's psychologically scary.
Yeah, what you need with the character of the Purple Man. I mean, they did that perfectly. But what was the vampire movie that remake that he was in? It was big in the 80s, the original one, and they remade it. Anyway, it was really good because he nailed the role. Yeah, we'll have to look it up. I'll look it up here in just a moment. But yeah, he nailed it. I love David Tennant, and he plays good guys and bad guys both well. But yeah, as a bad guy, you're just like, oh my gosh, I would not want to go against him as a bad guy. Which
you know what I'd love to see him play? I loved the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock. I loved Sherlock on PBS, BBC, you know, that sort of thing. But if they remade Sherlock that was like that kind of thing, that psychological thing, I would love to see him play Moriarty.
He would be a really good Moriarty, yeah. And Grizzly got it right. It's Fright Night. That's what I was thinking of, yeah. He's in the remake of Fright Night, which the original one's great. You should
have to go see it.
You definitely need to check it out because he's great in it. So, also said thoughts about the actor who played Iron Fist, Danny Rand. I think.
So the problem, I think one of my issues with Iron Fist, because I loved that when I heard they were doing it, I was like, yes, because it's not one of those comics that a lot of people behind. Right. And he grew on me. By season 2, I actually didn't hate him. Season 1. I felt like he had no chemistry, and I know he was playing it as like you know, he had just come back and he was like social, and he was like didn't know, you know, who he was, and all of this. His whole world was just like, but I just couldn't get to like him, and even his chemistry with Colleen and everyone in that show, it just didn't click until probably like 3 or 4 episodes into season 2, and then all of a sudden I don't know what happened behind the scenes. I feel like something happened, but it clicked, and I watched him, and you could see the chemistry go back better.
Right.
So he's not who I would have chose to play Danny. But by the end of it, I didn't hate him. That's as good
That's
as
not a ringing endorsement, but
no, not
at least if you put him back in that role, I will never watch another Marvel thing ever. No, that's not that, but it's
not that bad. No, and I watched all the episodes. That's the thing. I watched all the episodes.
I did too.
A lot. And I liked his supporting cast a lot. I just felt like he wasn't doing a give and take with the supporting cast the way I thought he should.
And I wondered if that was the writing. I felt like they were in such a hurry to try to get Defenders made that they rushed that, because normally they would have gave him months of training on the martial arts stuff and everything, and he had a couple weeks and then thrown into this, and so I think he's thinking too much as an actor, because
you see this like he's trying to like communicate and connect. It's this pause.
Right. No, I'm with you. And so I think he was set up for failure with it. I think that was the problem. I think by season 2 things were better, and I think it showed. It showed because he's more comfortable as an actor with that, and more comfortable. Like the scripts was better overall. So yeah, I think that I don't think he was the problem as much. I mean, okay, give him some problems, because as an actor, you got to overcome a bad script, you got to overcome bad directing, you've got to do all this. But you know, we're not talking about an Academy Award-winning actor trying to come in to do a role. We're talking about somebody pretty new on that stage, and he's following Daredevil that had these amazing fight scenes that were just incredible, and people were expecting, well, it's Iron Fist, he's a martial art expert, these are going to be even cooler, and so we were set up for, so I think we were set up for failure with that, unfortunately. So by
the end, I actually didn't hate him as he's not the person I would have chose, but he when it ended, I was like, oh, I'm gonna miss seeing him. So there's.
Well, and I really wanted to find out what happened to the cliffhanger. I'm like, what happens in that bar? Oh my gosh! And these guns.
I was actually
episode on
just TV shows that they've canceled that ended in a cliffhanger, and you're just like, why? Why can't you just give us a movie? Like, just give us a movie and wrap things up. Nowadays,
I'm with you. I'm with you. And I've got several that I would like to harp on with that. So
yeah, so we should do that sometime.
That's on the list also, most definitely. So Grizzly also says, I think it's funny, some of the critics showed that never picked up a comic book. This is true. They're criticizing based upon what they know.
Unfortunately, you got to think they're TV critics. To be a TV critic, you don't have to know the source material. You have to know what looks good on TV. It's just like movie critics don't have to know the source material. And unfortunately, even directors and writers and producers and actors, there are hundreds of movies that should have been made by fans or people who knew the source material that weren't. And you can tell. And that's the thing.
Or at least invest in it a little bit. If you
God,
know this is based off a book or a comic or a video game, invest a little time just to kind of check it out to see what it is, so you get the feel.
I love Tim Burton movies. I'm just a Tim Burton kind of girl. I love that little dark quirkiness. But one of my biggest pet peeves is the movies I really love are really dislike of his, and the movies I really love of his, you can tell the difference, are his adaptations of books.
Right.
I don't like, because, and he will say this, he has said this in interviews, he won't read the book. He won't read the source material because he wants to make it his own, which I get, but at the same time, then the characters aren't what you think they should be. And as fans of the books or of the comics and stuff, it can kind of be disappointing a little bit. And then, you get over it. So I always go into a movie that Tim Burton or anybody I know does not invest their time into learning these canon characters or the stories or anything like that. I always go into these movies thinking, okay, I'm going in to see a movie, and it's not the book, and it's not the comic, and I feel like that helps. That helps me.
It can. I think having been an actor, not professionally, just done some acting. Having done that, you need to kind of invest at least to kind of have a feel for things. I mean, you can take something and make it your own. You can spin it off. I can do King Lear in a different way than it's been done before, but I need to know what the classics are here. What is the standard and then I can put my own spin there. And as a director or as a writer, same thing. Take it and know what you're doing, and don't just take the overall general concept you read off of Wikipedia about it. Take and kind of learn something about it. But that's me. And Tim Burton has made millions upon millions upon millions more dollars than I'll ever make.
The things that he's done are the things that are more original and not based on actual classic books or classic stuff like that. So we are almost out of time, but I have a couple more that I just want to throw out, and I don't have to go deep into them.
Okay, sure, yeah.
I would love for 2 sequels to be made from 80s kid movies, and that is The Goonies. I would love to see them all grown up, somehow got back in town or whatever. And Monster Squad.
Yep.
Loved Monster Squad. I love those original classic horror, the mummies and all them. As for, I want the Gambit movie. I've been promised the Gambit movie. I need it to happen. He is my favorite X-Men. I want a Gambit movie with Jubilee, because their character and chemistry would be amazing.
Not Rogue?
No, because Jubilee was not a romantic with Gambit. Jubilee was the kid that Gambit protected, and they had this like mouthiness to each other and this sassiness to each other, and I loved it.
She first got picked up with Wolverine, though.
She did, but
then Gambit, yeah,
and then
anyway,
Gambit,
sorry,
you're good. But I don't care about the romantic story.
Right.
Like, I don't think it needs to be a romance. I don't think everything needs to have romance in it.
Agreed.
But I want to see that, and I want to see a Nightwing movie, and I have who I want to play Nightwing.
Who do you want to play Nightwing?
Jared.
Of course.
Sam Winston. Yeah. He's tall enough.
Hmm?
He has that body. He has that jaw. He has those eyes. There are a couple other people that I would be okay with, but he is my number one pick to play Nightwing. I think that he would play Dick Grayson, Nightwing, and I would love it. And I don't even find him that attractive. I know my friends who are women are going to be like, what? But he don't. He's not my type, but I just think.
Yeah, you're more of a Dean girl. The bad boy.
Kinda, yeah.
I'm like, personality-wise, Dean is more your type.
Yes, Dean is more my type personality-wise. Physically, neither one of them are my types, and that's just gonna like blow people's mind. But I feel like I want a Nightwing movie.
Yeah.
I want a Nightwing movie, and I would love for it to be, gritty, like
right.
what I from the Batman movie, the Robert Pattinson Batman movie, and the way it looks gritty. I would love for a Nightwing movie to be made in that style. So, just throwing that out
there. Can you imagine if you got them both together in that movie? And to the brothers, we have a villain. I don't know. I don't know what villain he would play, but I'm just like, that would be kind of cool.
I'm sure. Actually, oh God, I can't remember who it was. Shpoo and I had a villain for him. We had a villain for him. I can't remember who it is. I'm gonna remember and I'll post a comment. But right now I can't remember. I know you have a couple. I know you have a couple on your list that you probably want to like throw out there just a little bit.
Sure. One more comment from Grizzly here. Yes, they did do an interesting Beowulf. I love Beowulf. Beowulf's a really cool story. Interestingly, I'd complained there was no Beowulf movies before that. So, but yeah, I enjoyed that. That was a good movie. They're making the Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. They're making that into a movie, which is that's one of those that's not talked about, but I really want to see that because that's a cool classic story. But anyway, so I'll go over my list. I'll hit it quickly here. So for DC, listen up, DC. We need a Legion of Superheroes movie with more than just 3 members. We need it to be a Legion, and then you make it to where we want to learn about these people and a cool universe there. And then I also want a set in the 40s during the World War II Justice Society / All-Star Squadron movie, because those are great characters. We're going to get a little taste of it in gosh darn, not Captain Marvel, but Black Adam. In Black Adam, we're going to see Hawkman and some of those guys. So
your mind just went.
It did. My brain just went scattered there. On the Marvel side, we need 2 Silver Surfer movies. We need one that talks about, and it can be Galactus and Silver Surfer basically, but can talk about how show him being not human, but a humanoid on his planet, and how he got chosen to be the Herald, and how he did that to save his world. And how the Silver Surfer's all based on he's trying to save his world, and so he gives in to Galactus, becomes his herald, and what that means. And then post-Galactus sort of stuff, like we're going to have Galactus come at some point, big fight, all that. Post-Galactus, Silver Surfer kind of going out and exploring space as a hero, and no longer giving in to be the Herald of Galactus, kind of learning how to be on his own with those powers afterwards. I think that would be really cool if we could have those things, because I think that tells the story of a really cool character, and you could give the origin story and how he gets to be there, and leave him there with Galactus until Galactus tries to destroy the world, right. And then have him turn, and then give him his own movie afterwards. We need a new Flash Gordon movie, and not campy. You can keep some of the stuff from the original serials. I love that, and I know that's what the '80s campy movie was supposed to do. Was supposed to be tying it to the original serials, and it's fun. But I want a serious Flash Gordon movie, going up and fighting Ming the Merciless and that whole group, because that is a really cool world and universe you could explore.
Right.
The Discworld books would be a really cool thing to make into a series.
You know they made the one movie.
Yes.
With Sean Astin. Sean Astin plays in it. It's the Color of Magic one. It's
yes.
on Netflix, I think. And it's a mini series type thing. I think BBC did it. I agree. Terry Pratchett with the Discworld, his world building is amazing. Like, there are certain authors that built worlds that were just mind-boggling.
Right.
Like, you know, and he's one of them. I know. I saw his shadow. I saw Logan's I see his shadow behind you, and I'm like, he's just sneaking it.
He's trying to get in. Yep. No. Yeah. The humor in that, so you can world build with these amazing characters and add humor to it. You know, I could see somebody narrating it, somebody with a great voice. Have
you seen The Color of Magic, the show?
I have not seen it, so I need to watch that. So
it's narrated. It's weird because like when you first watch it, I didn't realize when I first watched it is when it first came out. It was on. And I didn't realize that it was Discworld. Like it was like the show with Sean Astin, and I was a big Sean Astin fan, so I would watch it. But it has a narrator, and it's actually really cool the way they did it. It was, you know, it's a cheaply done mini series, so the special effects aren't great, and the costumes aren't great, and all of that stuff. But you can see where if you go watch it, you can see where could be amazing. You've got to watch it. And I even think Logan would like it.
Well, I'm sure he would if I could get him to sit down. It's always the key. I've got to get him invested in it. But no, I agree. Something like that would be great. And you could, because there's so many stories, you could have it set more of an anthology sort of thing and tell the different stories, because that would be awesome. But I'm thinking of Timothy Dalton. I think would be a great narrator for those. He's got that voice where it's James Bond, but it's not James Bond, and he could. I think that would be kind of a cool place for that one. Similarly, I'd like to see the same thing sort of done with the Alan Dean Foster books. Alan Dean Foster's the Spellsinger books, Magic Kingdom for Sale books, the Pip and Finks books, all that. Because if you look at what he's done, here is an author who's written everything from Star Wars to Star Trek books, but his original stories are amazing, and they go from everywhere from hardcore sci-fi to really awesome fantasy worlds, and he just kind of goes in between, and his storytelling. And he also has a really good sense of humor with that, and his characters are really funny. I mean, the first time I read the Magic Kingdom for Sale books, I just laughed my tail off, because you're like, this is so crazy, and things would be said. You're like, what is going on? But there's a lot of humor to it, so I'd love to see that. And then the final series I'd like to see adapted. And most people haven't read these. They're called the Black Company series. It's from the 80s. No, they are. This is your gritty fantasy, but basically here is a company of mercenaries called Black Company. Okay. But it's set in this universe where you have these godlike figures that come and do things. And you got to kind of figure, you know, their company's trying to figure out who they're working for, because one set of gods is trying to kill another set. And they hire these men that are basically Marines and gritty and been in several battles. And then, of course, you get the rookie that comes along. They're an interesting read, but they're very, very dark, gritty fantasy. And something like that on something like Amazon or Netflix, to where you could kind of dive really dark, but still tell a really compelling story with characters that you find interesting and these crazy godlike creatures, to where you're like, what in the world is this? Because
Right.
you're like, okay, I think I know what this is. This is this, and then you're like, whoa, but that there. I remember that, and it's been a long time since I read it. I just remember there was one godlike character called the Limper, because during one of the battles, he was hurt in the leg, in the hip, and he walks with a limp. But you didn't want to come against him because he would kick your butt.
Right.
So it was just it's an interesting story that, again, not many people know about, that I would find to be a fascinating ongoing series of where people would be going, what is going on, and does this get darker? Because this is pretty dark. So anyway,
let's go to more of a kid thing. You were mentioning all these books in these book series that you would like to see. There was a book that Dakota read when he was younger. Cornelia Funk, who did like Inkspell, Dragon.
Yeah.
Okay. She did a book. She wrote a book called The Thief Lord, and it is. It was one of his favorite books. It was like we would do Mommy and Me book club. I know that sounds bad.
Yeah.
He's only a child, so we read the same book at the same time so we could discuss it. But it was one of those books that I read 3 times because I enjoyed it so much. But it's about these kids who are orphans, and they're in Italy, and they're hide out in this old opera house, and they're thieves. They go around stealing stuff to survive. And they are hired to steal a old carousel horse, and the carousel is a magic carousel that can transport them into the future. So it can make them, they're no longer kids, they're adults now, and stuff like that. So that story, if somebody picked it up and adapted it to where they could go back and forth, I think it would be a very, very cool kids type of series. I think it would be a lot of fun. But that was one of those ones that when he was reading it, we were like, this would be beautiful. First of all, the visual in it, the descriptive words that she uses are so amazing, and you feel like you're right there. I love authors who can do that. But if I was going to do a kid's story, that's the one that I would go and try to get adapted. So
that's great.
Yeah.
I've not read that. That's really cool though. Yeah.
It's called The Thief Lord. It's really good. I mean, I've read, we read Inkspell and The Dragon. I can't remember all of them. Like she has like the 3 main books, and then this was one that he got because those were out at the library because everybody was reading them. And he got this one, and it ended up being one of his favorites. We ended up buying it and reading it over and over again. So
great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Grizzly had a comment. He wants to see the Dark Elf stories in film. I'm not familiar with the Dark Elf stories, but
that would be kind of cool. I mean, I'm a little bit familiar, but not enough to like comment on it too much. Like I know, like I work at a bookstore with geeky stuff, so I sell graphic novels and all kinds of stuff. So it's my thing now.
It's your thing. It's a great thing for you. That's actually a perfect match for you. So, because that's awesome. So.
Okay, well, we are at an hour and 23 minutes.
Yep, let's wrap it up.
Listen, we had to throw in our extra ones that made the list, but we didn't go into talking about them too much. Sorry, my voice is still a little weak. But everyone, thank you so much for joining us this week. We'll be back next week. And what was our topic for next week, Professor?
What was it? Old movies. It is old movies. We're going to give our list of old movies from a decade.
Yeah, we'll decide our favorite old movies of that, or movies even if they're not our favorites that we think everybody should watch.
Right.
And,
which usually means they're my favorite. So.
Right. But be sure to check us out at GeekyKOOL.com, guys. That is As Shpoo says, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy. He says it so much better than I do. But it's GeekyKOOL.com, and we're on Facebook and YouTube, and that's our own website. You can check out all kinds of articles. Professor there writes way more than I do nowadays because I work all the time, and even though he does too, I'm lazy. I can't help it.
No, you're not. You're doing homeschooling for a child and being the curriculum director and teacher and everything else. So you're not lazy. You're busy. So, but something cool going on with GeekyKOOL.com, and I've not even told you this, Ace. We now have a subscribe button on the right-hand side, so you can subscribe to us. We will send you, and I've not started doing the daily ones yet, but we'll send you out a newsletter basically telling you these are the new stories on GeekyKOOL. Come check us out. That way you don't have to keep bouncing over there if you don't want to. Now, we love for you to come bouncing over there, but it's also a good way to remind you, hey, GeekyKOOL's got something cool. Check it out because we've got this. So click that subscribe button. Not only make sure you subscribe to our videos here on YouTube, but also subscribe over on the website because there's going to be some cool stuff going on with that.
Be sure to go give our Facebook page a like. And while you're at it, if you like what we do here, you're going to like what our friends do on their channels and their Facebook pages. So we have Keith and Gary over at Pop Culture Minefield, and that's on YouTube. Go give them a subscribe, a like. They will come up with scoops. They are getting quite famous. We knew them when.
Exactly.
Right. They come on here. They've been on here a couple times and everything. So they're really good guys. They are not as kid friendly as we try to be. Gary lets things slip, but if you have any questions about anything going on in pop culture, these are the guys you go to see if you can find the answers. Because if anybody around here knows, it's Keith and Gary. So go give
that's right.
Right, it's totally true. Go check out our friends over at the Nerd Informants. That's Tim and Josh, and that's on YouTube and Facebook. Their movies are coming back out, so they have reviews up now. And they're just great guys. They do a weekly podcast as well, and they're just a lot of fun. I D&D'd with them, and basically they are just nerdy boys who like movies and like to talk about it. So, and
they have a really good review out there for Bill and Ted's Face the Music. So check that out. If you've seen it or not seen it, check it out because that's a really cool review.
You had a review of it too.
I do. There is a review on GeekyKOOL for it. Yeah. And if you haven't seen it yet, stay for the post-credit scene. Just saying.
Really good. I heard the post-credit. Really
the post-credit scene was amazing. So anyway.
Go check out the Scallywag over at Scallywag Productions. That's on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. He's the one who did the 24-hour live stream. I'm very proud of him, but it happens to be I'm dating him, so don't take too much. My opinion's a little skewed there, but he's really cool. Go check him out, and remember, guys, all of our friends and us would love for you guys to give us likes on Facebook if you like what we're doing. It's the way we know that you are enjoying what we're doing. Give us subscribes and share it with your friends. Anything that you see on our site or on their sites, go ahead and share it. We love that. We're never going to complain about that. And it's just a way for us to get encouragement because none of us are doing this for monetary enjoyment. Trust me. We are. Well,
Keith and Gary is going to get rich off of this soon, but they're not there yet. They're not there yet. So.
But they will hit that before we do.
I just hope they take us along with them. So
I'm cute enough. Apparently, you keep.
You are
cute enough. But yeah, guys, go check us out and don't forget GeekyKOOL.com. You can read all kinds of articles by the professor. I think I have lined up for us some new writers as well.
Yay!
Thing that we did, so we'll see what happens with that. So if you would like to write for us, hit Larry or I up on Facebook and we will let you know how that can happen. Okay,
you can leave a comment down here if you want us to contact you, so either in YouTube or Facebook, or look us up on Facebook or whatever, GeekyKOOL.com. Go to the website. There's a contact me stuff there. So there's lots of ways to find us. So if you
and even if you just want to come on here and talk with us, we love that too.
We do. We love having awesome guests. So, yes. All right. Oh, there was a couple more comments real quick. So let's throw those up, and then we will say goodnight here.
Oh, that would be good. Yay. Yes.
I'm not sure. I don't know what the Mercedes Lakey books are. What are they?
So I have not read them. They're on my list. And when I say they're on my list, I have so many books on my list.
Sure.
But yes, Jay. Jay Chris was like, yes, Jay. But from what I understand, they're like, I don't want to get this wrong. I'm going to get this wrong. If I tell you what it's about and I haven't read it, I feel like I'm going to get it wrong. Jay, I'll tell you what. Jay is one of those people who would come on here with us.
She should come on here.
She should come on here with us. And maybe not next week, but maybe the week after, and she could tell us all about them.
That would be great. Let's do that. Let's get her lined up for it. Jay also says Cary Grant movies. There are definitely Cary Grant movies on my list. So,
all right. My list has more Rock Hudson because I'm more Rock Hudson fan than Cary.
Yeah.
Grant.
I like Rock Hudson also, so I'm not opposed there. I'm actually a Bogart fan, huge Bogart fan. So
be sure to check us out, guys. Jay, contact us. We'll have you come on here, okay?
That would be awesome.
Well, Larry, Professor, as always, it was really nice talking to you. I'm losing my voice again.
That does seem to happen a lot, but something about 24 hours in a row and all that stuff.
I've been working.
I've
been working a 11-hour shift the day after, and yeah, I've just been working. So it's a thing, guys. I'll talk to you guys all next week.
See y'all. Stay geeky.
Bye.